Hello Nidorinas and Nidorinos, I'm KingNido, and today it is the Levincia Wonders going up against the Laverre Constrictors, where for the Wonders they're having a good start to their season, potentially having the best start they have ever had, as they are still yet to make a debut inside Victory Road, whereas for the Laverre Constrictors they had a fantastic first round, only to be swept clean in that second round, and they want to return to that fine form here today against the Levincia Wonders. But with all that said, between these two sides, let us know in the comments below who you think's going to win this matchup. Will it be the Lightning decks? Will it be the Psychic decks? Let's go!
3, 2, 1, go!
And starting off this match for the Levincia Wonders, it is their Lighthouse Guide deck, moving their Stunfisk into the active spot. The Laverre Constrictors, they're starting out with their Eon Ruins deck, and they have got the Togepi and the Cleffa in hand. They've already got the Togetic as well, but they are going with that Cleffa in the active spot, Togepi on the bench. Now we can see the Flaffy, the Memory Light, the Rescue Scarf, and that Pokemon Communication in hand for the Wonders, and they do pull their second Stunfisk as well to ensure that they can get a basic Pokemon onto the bench. You do not want to lose a game because you have an empty bench. We've seen sides in control and have that happen, but they are going to play the Pokemon Communication here, sending their Flaffy back into the deck to get another Pokemon card out in return, getting the Mareep as well. This is good because this gets them another basic Pokemon. Now they have lost their Flaffy, but there are two inside that deck, so they move Mareep onto the bench, keeping Stunfisk in their hand. The Constrictors, they pull their second Togetic, and they have pulled the Giant Cape. Now they do get an energy onto the Togepi. They're having a quick look at those Togetics who only require a single energy as well, but with this Twinkly Call from Cleffa, they can get a random Pokemon card from their deck, and it is the second Togepi as well, potentially allowing them to set up the Togekiss if they can get one of the two out of their deck. And the Wonders, they pull their own baby Pokemon in the Allocate, but they're getting a first of 2 required energy onto the Stunfisk. With Allocate as well, it can go on the offensive 0 energy, as it is a baby Pokemon, to target benched Pokemon, as the Morty has been pulled for the Constrictors. They get the Togepi onto the bench, and with the Morty, it allows them to look at the top 3 cards of the opposing side's deck and put them back in any order. We can see the Zeraora, the Professor's Research, and the Will, deciding on which order they want to put them in. They're going with the Professor's Research in the 3rd slot, the Will in the 2nd slot. They're hoping that there's no Ampharos inside the hand of the Wonders. They're also going to get the first Togetic online, getting a second energy onto it as well. And I misspoke, I did say it requires 1 energy, but it does require 2. However, there is enough for that speed dive from the Togetic to get that 30 damage onto the Stunfisk as it comes back over to the Wonders. As we said, they are pulling that Will. That was the order that the Constrictors laid it out in. There is a second energy onto the Stunfisk as they do put their second Stunfisk onto the bench as well. This Static Shock, 50 damage to the opposing Pokemon. This will do more than half the health that Togetic has, bringing it down to only 40 health remaining. As it comes back over to the Constrictors, they pull their Pokemon Communication. They can send their second Togetic back into their deck to potentially get a Togekiss, but they are putting that Giant Cape onto that active Togetic to take it out of discard range from the Stunfisk here, and they do get the second Togetic online, getting its first of 2 required energy. Now they do also have that Lyra in hand that can allow them to retreat an active Pokemon who has taken damage to the bench. Another 30 damage onto Stunfisk, having 30 health remaining. There's the Zeraora being pulled for the Levincia Wonders as they're looking through their hand. Zeraora taking that final bench slot as well. And it does receive its first of 2 required energy for that Lightning Claw that does 50 damage, and another Static Shock, which means the Wonders, they're willing to give up this active Stunfisk here, bringing Togetic down to only 10 health remaining as the Togekiss has been pulled for the Constrictors. It does require 1 more energy for it to be able to do that magical shot for 70 damage, but it is that Celestial Blessing. Every time a Pokemon does damage to Togekiss, it is a coin flip, and if it's a Tails, if it's a heads for the Togekiss, it will take 0 damage, but it is going to discard Stunfisk from the board, taking the first battle point to the Laverre Constrictors, and it is the first of 3 battle points across all 3 games here, with each game counting towards the leaderboard 2 victory points for every game you win, so that 3rd matchup is just as important as the first. Now with that Professor's Research finally being pulled for the Wonders, they get their Elemental Switch and they get an Ampharos, already having the Will in hand who partners perfectly with the Ampharos, but they need a Flaffy back after they did put that Flaffy back into their deck. And here it is, that Lightning Claw. Here is the coin flip. They need to get the heads, and the Constrictors will be getting the heads, which means Togekiss takes 0 damage here from the Zero Aura. This is what makes this Togekiss, as they do pull the second one as well, a massive threat to opposing sides. They could wipe this thing off the board with one hit at times, and it will take 0 damage because of that Celestial Blessing. The second Togekiss is online, and another 70 damage, this time on Zero Aura, bringing it down to 20 health, and there's the Flaffy for the Wonders being pulled. They are going to get that online now. Flaffy does require 2 energy, but so does Ampharos. And that Thunder Punch does do 80 damage with the coin flip that comes into play with Ampharos. If it gets a tails, it does 20 damage to itself, but if it gets a heads, which Will can guarantee, it will do an additional 40. That's 120 damage. Now a Togekiss at full strength does have 140 health, but the Togekiss in the active spot for the Constrictors only has 60 health remaining, and the Wonders are trying to bring that down to 10 with this Lightning Claw, but there is that coin flip that will come into play, and it is the tails this time for the Constrictors. However, Togekiss, thanks to that Giant Cape, is still on the board as it comes back over to the Constrictors. They pull their Rare Candy. Now that's no good to them anymore because they've got the Togekiss online, and both of them have got the 3 required energy, and they're going to play the Lyra. They don't want to drop a battle point because they do count towards our leaderboard, as does all the damage across these 3 games, and there is 70 damage onto that Zero, wiping it off the board, and the Constrictors, they're 1 point away from taking this game 1 over the Wonders after they are coming off a clean sweep defeat. And there is the Will being pulled for the Wonders. They have 2 of these in their deck. That is fantastic for them. That can ensure that this Thunder Punch will maximize its damage, but it will not override that Celestial Blessing, so they still have to contend with that as well. They get the second energy onto the Ampharos. Ampharos has 150 health as well, and they are going to play this first Will. This will guarantee the head flip for the Thunder Punch, but now we'll find out if they get the head flip for the Celestial Blessing. And it is the heads for the Wonders, getting that Thunder Punch. Going over to the Constrictors, they too get the heads though, which means they have offset that Will entirely. 0 damage being taken by Togekiss. No recoil damage though for the Ampharos, as it is the Power Unknown being pulled for the Constrictors. This Togekiss can throw things up in the air for the side they are playing, and this is fantastic to see, as they do get a 4th energy for that magical shot onto the Togekiss, so it's got the additional energy in case they choose to retreat it. 70 damage onto the Ampharos. They pull their second Zero Aura, do the Wonders. Keep in mind, Ampharos is still outside discard range from the Togekiss. They can go for their second Will. They have got the Rescue Scarf, but that's no good to them now. They have not capitalized on that before in the past when they've needed it, but if they lose another Pokemon, they just lose the game as it is. They're going to play their second Will, so we guarantee the head flip for the Thunder Punch. It'll be that Celestial Blessing though that they have to contend with, so it is the Wonders. They get their heads, the Constrictors get their turn though, and they go for it, and they get their heads as well. The Celestial Blessing coming into play for the second turn in a row, guaranteeing that Ampharos will not do any damage to the Togekiss, as it is the Latios being pulled for the Constrictors. It is moved into that final bench position for that Luster Purge, 130 damage. It does have to discard all energy on it, but another magical shot, bringing Ampharos down to 10 health remaining. And the Wonders, they do pull their Traveling Merchant. They will need to think about how they can get their next 3 points here against the Constrictors. They are looking at their top 4 cards. No Pokemon tools in there, so their deck is reshuffled. The entire Ampharos line was in there though. And they are thinking about what they do now. If they do go on the offensive with this Thunder Punch, it will, and get a Tails, it'll do 10 damage to itself and discard Ampharos from the board, giving the Constrictors the win. But they are going to retreat here, going for the Lightning Claw with the Zero Aura, and that coin flip is again a heads. 3 Celestial Blessing blocks in a row by this Togekiss, who still has 140 health remaining. The Latias has been pulled for the Constrictors, but their bench is full. They get a second energy here on to the Latios, who they want to maximize that damage with, because if they get another turn, they will do 130 damage. And we talk about maximizing your damage in these matches. They are going to get an energy onto the bench down first. They're going to move it back into the active spot. Zero Aura has been retreated for 1 energy, and they are going with the Elemental Switch. This will move the energy, that Lightning energy, from Zero Aura to Ampharos. They're willing to go on the offensive here. But if they get a Tails, this could actually favor the Wonders, because this means, and this is exactly what's going to happen, they will not take the 130 damage from the Latias. They will get, the Latios, they get 80 damage onto the Togekiss, but they discard their own Ampharos. They've actually offset the damage that the Constrictors can do to them. The Wonders are thinking ahead here with this play, but as we have our first table reset, and if you're enjoying what you're seeing, so leave a like this we go into our game 2 as the Constrictors. They're playing with their Brainwave deck, and they do pull the Slowpoke here, moving that into their active spot. For the Wonders, they've got their Pichu with that Crackly Toss. It can generate an energy for a benched basic Pokemon going into their active spot, but both sides only having the single basic Pokemon here. It is the Slowking though being pulled for the Constrictors. They've already got the Xatu in hand, plus the Morty, the Will, and the Lyra. The Morty can allow them to look at the top cards of the opposing side's deck equal to the amount of psychic cards they've got in play here. Now they've only got one in play, so they choose not to play it. It is the Electros being pulled for the Wonders. They play their Professor's Research and they get the Dynamo and the Electric already. They are going to move the Dynamo onto the bench, getting that first and only required energy for the Dynamo. Keeping in mind the Electric does require 2 energy and the Electros requires 3, so they are going with the Crackly Toss here to generate that additional energy for the Dynamo. It comes back over to the Constrictors. Now they pull their Moshana. They need a second basic Pokemon though, so that they don't have an empty bench. They are thinking of getting Slowking online. With that Psychic, it does do 10 damage, but it does an additional 30 for every energy attached to the opposing Pokemon, which means it'll only do 10 damage to the Pichu, but for example, it could do 70 damage to the Dynamo. The Elemental Switch has been pulled for the Levincia Wonders here. And they are looking at their Electric, thinking of getting it online. Keeping in mind it has 90 health. As we said, the Slowking can do 70 damage because there are the 2 lightning energy currently on the Electric. They're also going to play the Traveling Merchant to look at their top 4 cards, searching for any Pokemon tools. There are none in there, so their deck does get reshuffled with no Pokemon tools being removed. And they're having a look at the Slowking. As we said, 10 damage plus an additional 30 for every energy on the opposing active Pokemon. And they are going to retreat the Pichu, so they are going to go on the offensive, it looks like, with the Electric. They want to keep it strong, but they're actually attaching an energy to the Pichu here to ensure that there's not that additional 30 damage onto the Electric, because otherwise that Psychic would do 100 damage. The Memory Light has been pulled for the Constrictors. And they do attach that second energy to the Slowking. They have no other basic Pokemon. They are going to play the Morty. They get to see that top card of what will be pulled next. Now they can't rearrange the order of them, there's only a single card, but there's no second basic Pokemon. There's 70 damage onto the Electric. It will have 20 health remaining, but this is fantastic for the Wonders. They do pull that Dynamo, but that's not what they're concerned with. It is the Electros with that Wild Charge, 120 damage. It is free to wipe this Slowking clean off the board, and just like that, the Wonders with this Power Reserve deck, they will take game 2 over the Brainwave deck, and we are going to a game 3 decider with this final table reset. And with their final decks each in play, it will be the Constrictors going first with their Perish Trap deck. We can see the Wobbuffet plus that Galarian Corsola that is going to go into. No, they do think of making that other call. They've already got the Galarian Corsola in hand. Now keeping in mind, Corsola only requires a single energy. Wobbuffet does require 2. That Reply Strongly does 30 damage, an additional 50 if it just took damage from the opposing Pokemon. But no, they're going with the Corsola here. And they are going with the Wobbuffet on the bench. They do not want to drop another game with an empty bench here. It is the Magnemite from that Legend of Thunder deck. We can see the Boltund and the Magneton in hand for the Wonders, plus the Rescue Scarf and the Lyra. But it is that Miss Magius being pulled for the Constrictors. They've got their Giant Cape and their X-Speed. They do end their first turn, sending it over to the Wonders, who pull the Magnezone already. They are getting the cards they need very fast, just like in game 2. And with this Lightning Ball, they can immediately go on the offensive, 20 damage onto the Corsola here. And it is the Mischievous being pulled for the Constrictors. They immediately get that online, already having the Miss Magius with that Infiltrating Inspection as well. This can allow them to look at the hand of the Wonders, as they're going to do, taking into account all 5 cards that they have. They know that that Magnezone line is there, ready to go. The Constrictors thinking about how they want to play this, knowing that the Magneton is in hand of the Wonders here. It does require the 4 energy. They're going with the Giant Cape onto the Corsola to boost its health back up to 60. And they are going with the Tackle, not going with the Evolution just yet. So 20 damage here onto the Magnemite as it comes back over to the Wonders. They do pull their second Magnemite again. They've still got an empty bench as well, but Magneton has that Volt Charge ability. This allows it to generate an additional energy. Now Magneton requires 4 energy for that spinning attack, whereas Magnezone only requires 3 for the Thunder Blast. That does almost double the damage, but it does have to discard an energy when it does go for that. And the Wonders are thinking about how they want to play this. They're actually going to get an energy onto the Magnemite instead of the Magneton here. A very interesting decision. Keeping in mind, we know that Magneton has 60 health remaining. That Galarian Cursor in hand of Constrictors does do 60 damage. They do generate the extra energy for the Magneton. And they are thinking of attaching that Rescue Scarf, which would be a fantastic play, because instead of Magneton going into the discard pile, it would come back into their hand. But instead, they're playing the Lyra. This actually allows them to retreat Magneton for 0 energy here, because Magneton had taken damage. They're attaching the Rescue Scarf to the Magnemite instead. This will allow them to get the Magnezone online in the next turn. This Lightning Ball, 20 damage onto the Corsola, as it is the Traveler Merchant being pulled for the Constrictors. A very intelligent play, it seems, from the Wonders here, because this means that Magnemite can get put back into their hand if it is discarded. The Traveler Merchant allows the Rescue Scarf to be pulled from the hand of the Constrictors. And it is the Galarian Cursor coming online. It has that Perish Body ability that if it is eliminated or discarded from an opposing Pokemon, a coin flip will determine whether or not that opposing Pokemon does get discarded as well. But the Spooky Shot, 60 damage to wipe the Magnemite off the board, but it does go back into the hand of the Wonders as the Constrictors. They take the first battle point here in game 3. This is anybody's game at the moment. The Magneton has been pulled. The Rare Candy has been pulled for the Wonders. This could allow them, if they wanted to, say with the Magnemite, to bypass a Magneton going straight to the Magnezone. Magnemite does go onto the bench here. And they are going to attach an energy to the Magneton. Magneton can actually get that 60 damage off to discard the Cursor as well. They've got the Volt Charge to generate that additional energy. And that is exactly what they're going to do. So there is a 4th energy onto the Magneton, and they are going for the spinning attack just in case that Perish Body comes into play. Cursor will be discarded. The Perish Body, the coin flip. If they get a heads, it is a tails. So Magneton is still in this contest. But again, the Wonders thinking moves ahead here in game 3. They don't want to drop another game due to unnecessary errors, as it is the Constrictors. They do pull the Memory Light. We have seen the Wonders make unnecessary errors on multiple occasions throughout the PokeType League TCG. Already this season, it has cost them matches, as there is the Rescue Scarf onto the Miss Magus. It does get that energy for the Cursed Prose that is going to allow it to do 90 damage to the Magneton at the end of the next turn. It is the Giant Cape being pulled for the Wonders, and Magnezone is going to come online, and that will clear the Cursed Prose from doing that 90 damage. There is a first energy onto the Magnemite, and this Thunder Blast that will discard one of the 4 energy, whereas Magnezone, it only requires 3, so it doesn't actually have to worry about the first energy it's about to discard. It gets the Giant Cape, 140 health, and the Thunder Blast, 110 damage. Miss Magus is wiped clean off the board, but clean straight back into the Constrictor's hand as well, as we do see Wobbuffet moved into the active spot. It only has 90 health. The second Corsola has been pulled for the Constrictors, but the Wonders, they seem now fully in control here. And there is a first energy onto the Wobbuffet, but they cannot go for that reply strongly, and it would only do 30 damage. Magnezone still has 140 health. Again, that Thunder Blast, 110 damage. This is the best we have seen the Wonders play. They may be taking Season 8 more seriously than we have ever seen them do before, because with this Thunder Blast, Wobbuffet is wiped clean out into the discard pile, and this Legend of Thunder deck will be taking game 3 over the Perish Trap deck to ensure that the Wonders, they will take this series and move up to 3rd place, as the next round they are going up against the Holonauers. Whereas for the Constrictors, they do move up into 5th place, but next round they are going up against the Olivine Raiders. But until then, Nidorinos, thank you so much for watching. Let us know in the comments below what cards you pulled today, and if you enjoyed what you saw, please leave a like, share, subscribe, but more importantly, always remember, send thanks, and I'll see you when you see me.